Hi, Noble Rick here. Today I sculpt the Blueberry Fairy designer toy. Now this is how it looks after applying the modifiers. It's sort of an illusion at this point. That is exactly how it looked to begin with. Applying the modifiers smooths all those edges out and creates this. Once I apply the modifiers, then I have this shape to sculpt, and I'm using a sculpting tool to smooth it out here. Get my general shape. Now I end up taking parts off because I wanted to get the shape like I wanted to get the shape. Here I'm flaring out or trumpeting out the body to meet the hip. I'm going for a particular shape which I have sketched out already, and you'll see the sketch soon in the background. Getting the little legs in place. Now, a designer toy, as you may know, is a figure that is a blank that you can paint your own face on it, your own clothes on it, your own colors that you want to paint on it. And you've seen such before. The Dunny is an example, and those are the inspirations. Dunny, I think one's called Bunny, I think, or Mooney or something. And those designer toys are inspiration for this sculpt. There's a sketch. I'm trying to match, if you will, into 3D form. You may also notice that I'm not using sculpting tools so much. This is not a complicated figure. It's a simple figure, but I want it to be shaped a certain way. And to shape it, I'm manipulating polygons, if you will. Keeping it simple. Not using the sculpting tool. If I was making a realistic face, for example, I would be using the sculpting tool. But here I'm trying to get a general form. Now the shoulders are getting complicated, mainly because the arm was attached to it, but I decided to go with the arms being separate forms, and simplifying the shoulder, and making it smoother too. Making it smoother also. Now, I'm getting back to making the Lovely Grounded Fairies comic. I've changed up the intro, and I'll be in about a week or so uploading some more adventure. And hope to be closing this particular adventure out soon, which is based on the book by Chocolatey Locket, which you will find on Wattpad by the name of The Bane of Bad Things, subtitled The Lovely Grounded Fairies. Now, the comic at WEBTOONs that I am drawing is called The Lovely Grounded Fairies, so go check it out. Hope you will enjoy it. It's the adventures of 8 fairies that got grounded to being almost human, virtually losing all of their magic, and what magic is left is turned into a superpower. Each girl has her own superpower. So go check it out on WEBTOONs. Check out the adventures of the Lovely Grounded Fairies. Speaking of fairies, this is my Blueberry Fairy designer toy. I'm sculpting the back now. Where her shoulders, back shoulders, where the scapula would be. I'll end up changing the arm too. This arm, the first arm, I didn't like. So I end up taking that arm out and making a new one. Alright, we gotta marry the top to the bottom. There can be no holes in this, if you're going to 3D print it, which is what I eventually did. And I have to take I have to smooth it out by taking some rings out. Putting rings in, move the rings around, making the top virtually seamlessly formed into the bottom. So in order to do that, I gotta do what I'm doing here, cutting out rings, putting rings back in. Now for the legs, I did that a little bit, but I also using the sculpting tool, the smoothing sculpting tool, to smooth out those legs, get those in the right shape. Alright, she's got her hair buns, her blueberry hair buns. And here she's got her belly button already. I'm going to make a new arm, and I'm going to do it simply by making a node, that little dot right there, stretching out, or extruding out as it's called in Blender, extruding out the arm. That's her shoulder, that's her elbow, that's her wrist, and from that, virtually dimensionless shape to make the arm. And how we do that is with the modifier, the solidify modifier in Blender. And once you apply that, you have a three-dimensional shape to sculpt. And here I am making the palm out of that round hand. It's kind of cute just like that, but I will make her fingers too. UV sphere. I avoided making her head out of a UV sphere because I was anticipating doing some sculpting. And at the tip, or this globe shape at the tip of it, it has triangles. And when you sculpt triangles and four-sided polygons together, and I'm just getting technical here, it just doesn't sculpt very well. But for the fingers, I thought it would be fine, because it is going to need to be a tiny form. The fingers are going to be a tiny form. The middle finger, of course, is the tallest finger, the longest finger, but the index finger and the one on the other side of the middle finger are about the same size on the human hand, even for a baby. And I'm trying to make this hand a babyish kind of style. This is her thumb, tip of her thumb. Cool thing about Blender is as the modifiers, it really is some handy tool or group of tools for making polygon forms in Blender. See how it's virtually the same finger as the index finger. Alright, we got them all there. Now let's get them into place. And we got to shape them some more too. They're really skinny right now. We'll display them out like the hand fingers are wide apart. This may also be inspired by the old Cupid dolls from way, what, the 1930s, I think, maybe even later, further back than that. The Cupid dolls had their hands kind of like Iron Man when he's flying. They have their hands out, out away from the body, kind of like I don't know, like wings that have not completely closed all the way. It's a cute pose, and Cupid dolls had that pose, and so does this doll. This doll is a designer toy, and by that I mean it's just a blank by which you can paint your own colors, paint your own face onto it, paint your own design of clothes onto it. It's just a blank canvas for, in effect, for you to color, to paint, to do with what you will, create what you want to create. And I'll show you an example of how I had painted it at the end. And you saw a glimpse of that at the beginning of the video. Speaking of which, that figurine will be going on sale at eBay, at least that's the plan. I don't have it up there yet, but if you're interested, I will put the link, the eBay store link in the description whereby you can buy the figure on eBay. It's one of a kind. It's one of my prototypes that I decided to go ahead and paint. The prototype of a designer toy, which again is like Mooney or Dunny. I think you may have heard of those. Those are the first, I guess you might say, designer toys. The figurines that are blanks that you can color yourself. And that's the whole idea of this figurine that I'm sculpting. Now the fingers, I applied they were skinny, so I applied a modifier to them, which gives them another outline shape over that. And once I did that, I had to get rid of the fingers in the middle, the core, if you will. Again, the modifiers are pretty handy in Blender. Now I sculpted these wings, and I had there's a way to shape them. I sculpted them and gave them a little bit of a curl there, but I'm going to give them more of a curl by using this cylinder as a reference. The wings are going to curl around to the front of the body. Now, if you're interested in the wings just as they are, let me know. I did not throw those away. I can still 3D print this that you see here. The traditional, the typical idea of a fairies or wings splayed out, but inside of this was based on a bottle fairy where the wings had to curl in order to go inside the bottle. But I liked the way it looked, so I made it into this 3D model here, and here I painted it with an airbrush and with traditional brushes as well. The blueberry fairy. If you're interested in the blank, let me know. The blank figurine, which is the whole idea of this sculpt. And here, this particular piece that I had painted, I'm going to put it up on eBay to sell it. The blueberry fairy. Thanks for watching.